Greetings. We are happy to welcome you to the live broadcast of the breaking news on the ALLATRA TV channel. In early August, an increased seismic and volcanic activity was registered in several countries. As of today, the matter of predicting these cataclysms is one of the most important concerns that we have. Despite all of the technical progress of our civilization, we still have not learned how to predict them, although the consequences of such events are colossal. Mount Sinabung in Indonesia has awakened once again, and more in detail about that on the earthquakes all over the world will tell you more. A reporter from Czech Republic will tell you about. Greetings, Marketa.
Hello, Konstantin.
Greetings, Marketa. Happy to welcome you in the studio, and the floor goes to you.
On August the 7th, Mount Sinabung erupted in Sumatra, Indonesia. Smoke and ash column was the height of 2,000 meters, which resulted in an aircraft safety alert. According to eyewitnesses, the sky became dim and there was sound similar to thunder rumbling. Also, a thick layer of ash covered everything within a radius of 20 kilometers from the volcano, so the locals had to clear the streets. Earlier, on August 3rd, 2020, a 5.5 magnitude earthquake occurred in the Tarapacá region of northern Chile. The earth tremors were so strong that they were felt even by the residents of neighboring Bolivia and Peru. On August 7th, two earthquakes of magnitudes 4.9 and 4.5 were registered in the province of Mila in Algeria. While the cracks appeared in the roads, water began to quickly fill some of the cracks in the ground. On the next day, a 5.3 magnitude earthquake occurred in China, in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Underground tremors were felt in a number of settlements of the region. Strong earthquakes also continued to be reported off the coast of Alaska. On August the 8th, the magnitude of a seismic event was 5.5. No casualties or damage have been reported. On August the 9th, 2020, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake occurred in the city of Sparta in the American state of North Carolina. It's been the strongest seismic event in this state since 1916. Thousands of people felt powerful trembling, while over 500,000 people felt a moderate or mild tremor. The earth tremors caused the facades of buildings to collapse, and huge cracks appeared on the roads. The seismic event is quite rare because it took place to the North American plate. Typically, such tremors are less common than earthquakes at the junctions of tectonic plates.
Dear viewers, the fact that climate change cannot be stopped is no longer a secret. But what we can all do is join forces to create a society that guarantees the future for us all, for our entire civilization. Such a society is called the creative society. Therefore, let's live in respect for each other. Let's value the life of each person, because this is what will ensure life for us all. Thank you. I pass the word to the studio.
Thank you, Marketa. Global climate change is leading the planet to irreversible consequences. As of right now, we can see how some countries experience abnormal heat waves, while others are suffering from record snowfalls in summer. More in detail on that, and ALLATRA TV reporter from France will tell you more. Greetings, Helena.
Hello, Konstantin.
We welcome you in the studio, and the floor goes to you.
Hello, this is ALLATRA TV reporter from France. On August 4th and 5th, 2020, snow fell on the island of Tasmania, Australia. Temperature dropped below zero. Although it is winter now in the South Hemisphere, it is still a very rare phenomenon. And the last time it snowed there about 40 years ago. Besides, temperature do not usually drop below 7 or 8 degrees Celsius in the winter. In addition, Tasmania had its second driest July throughout the history of meteorology, are still ongoing in northern and central Portugal because of the heat wave. Hundreds of firefighters and aviation are involved in fires. Evacuation has been carried out. On the same day, the abnormal heat returned to France. In half of the country, with an increased temperature, the temperature rose to 37, 40 degrees Celsius, in some places 42 degrees Celsius. As a result, the orange level of alert was declared in 53 departments of the country, in Paris, the metropolitan areas, and in 9 other departments, the red level of alert was declared. Thank you. I give the floor back to studio.
Thank you, Helen. Natural disasters continue to wreck everything in their paths. On ALLATRA TV reporter from Canada will tell us more about the situation in the US, Canada, Chile, and Australia, and China and Australia. Andre, greetings.
Hello, Konstantin.
We welcome you back in the studio, and the floor goes to you.
Thank you. Here's the ALLATRA TV reporter from Canada. Hurricane Isaias, which we discussed in the last episode, continued its moving along the east coast of the United States, carrying devastating winds and heavy rains. The storm caused over 20 tornadoes, which caused significant damage. One of the most devastating tornadoes in North Carolina struck at 233 kilometers per hour. There are dead, injured, and missing. In New Hampshire, Mount Washington had a record wind gust of 237 kilometers per hour. As a result, trees were felled, roads were blocked, and power lines were cut. Because of this, 140,000 residents were left without electricity. On August 7, 2020, a tornado struck the Canadian province of Manitoba. Unfortunately, some casualties have been reported. Some farms and granaries were damaged, electrical wires were cut. And on August 9th, a devastating tornado struck the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region in China. Unfortunately, dozens of people were injured. More than 100 homes were partially or fully destroyed. Meanwhile, in Australia on 10th August, heavy rain and strong winds hit southern New South Wales, causing the worst flooding in the area in 29 years. Unfortunately, there was one casualty reported. Rapid storm wind reached over 90 kilometers per hour. In Sydney, the waves on the coast reached a height of more than 5 meters. Trees were felled, roads and houses were flooded, and property was damaged. During the day, over 2,000 people were left without electricity. The floods on the southeastern coast led to free evacuation orders for local residents. Thank you, and the floor goes back to studio.
Thank you, Andre. Floods are causing catastrophic consequences across the planet, and every day's lives of millions of people are changed beyond recognition. Rushing streams of water leave a massive amount of destruction behind. More in detail will tell you a reporter of ALLATRA TV from Kazakhstan. Jazira, greetings. We are happy to welcome you in the studio. We would like to give the floor to you.
Greetings. This is ALLATRA TV reporter from Kazakhstan. On August the 5th, the 6th, a heavy rainstorm hit in Mangistau region in Kazakhstan. As a result, the monthly rainfall rate on the night of August the 6th, which is 11 times higher than the monthly norm in this locality. Because of this, the roofs of some apartment buildings were leaking, making waterfalls out of staircases. Many streets were also flooded, which caused a lot of trouble for drivers. Meanwhile, heavy monsoon rains over just a few days on August the 7th, the 8th, caused flash floods in various parts of Pakistan, unfortunately led to loss of life. In southern Sindh province, people were evacuated by boat to relief camps. In the region, about 100 houses were damaged. At the same time, Avivia In central Greece, there have been reports of missing people and casualties. During the storm, from 200 to 300 millimeters of rain fell in some part of the island in just a few hours. The flood caused massive destruction, damaging roads and the bridge. Dozens of people were evacuated from their homes in carts that were trapped in water. In some areas, local rivers overflowed their banks and flooded several houses. Experts note that summer in Greece is usually dry and thunderstorms are rare, but they have become more frequent in recent years. Thank you very much. Giving the floor back to the studio.
Thank you, Zajira. The Arabian Peninsula remains to be as a center of the climate anomalies. Massive floods have swept across the once desert-like region. Torrent rains entail yet another serious danger, landslides, that happen suddenly and have a devastating impact. More in detail on this will tell you a reporter from ALLATRA TV from India.
Mr. Mukund, greetings.
Good evening.
Welcoming you from the studio and giving you the floor. Please begin.
This is the ALLATRA TV report from India. On August 7, 2020 in India, in the state of Kerala, heavy rains caused a massive landslide. Unfortunately, dozens of people died and went missing. Dozens of houses were destroyed and power lines damaged. Earlier in August 5 and 6, floods occurred in Mumbai. The floods were caused by heavy downpours and wind speeds of nearly 110 kilometers per hour. More than half of the monthly rainfall fell on the city in one day. This is the heaviest rainfall in the last 46 years. Buildings were damaged, trees fell, and the railway service was paralyzed. The rains also coincided with a tide of 4 meters high, causing flooding of coastal areas. Following the retreat of the tide, severe flooding was recorded throughout the city. Massive flooding and destruction also occurred in the Arabian Peninsula. Since late July, sustained rainfall has caused Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, there were fatalities. About 600 people have left their homes and moved to temporary shelters. On 4 August 2020, till in one day in the province of Al-Hadayda alone, which is 14 times the monthly norm. As a result of the disaster, collapses of buildings and dams were recorded throughout the country. Farms, roads, residential buildings were seriously damaged. Thousands of local residents were evacuated. Unfortunately, there are fatalities and injuries. Thank you.
In Africa, several countries have experienced sudden yet prolonged flash floods, which triggered the migration of huge numbers of local residents. We have received an on-site report from an ALLATRA TV reporter. Let's watch this video together.
In Ethiopia, at least 32,000 people have become climate refugees as a result of several flooding since late July 2020. This includes nearly 20,000 residents of the Afar region who were forced to leave their homes in the first week of August by the Aosh River flooding. People were seriously affected. Housing and transport infrastructure were severely damaged, and several thousands of livestock were killed and crops were destroyed. The flooding were accompanied by the landslides. Tens of thousands of local residents in the disaster zone are still in risk forced displacement. In southwestern Sumatra, thousands of people who have been evacuated due to prolonged flooding. A total of more than 190,000 of people were affected by the natural disaster, while about 120,000 of people were affected. Unfortunately, there were fatalities. The natural disaster caused damage to agriculture, while infrastructure in many settlements were destroyed. In early August 2020, heavy rain in Sudan leads to floods and landslides. Over 50,000 people were affected in 14 states across the country. Unfortunately, there were fatalities. Over 3,000 houses and building well destroyed or severely damaged. Honoré, reporter from Rwanda.
As we can see, people living in different regions of our planet suffer from cataclysms that hit suddenly and unexpectedly. By understanding that these processes are beyond the human control and that we need right now to look for the ways out gives us a chance to survive the climatic catastrophe. But to use this chance, we will be only able by joining our efforts of each and every one of us. In this regard, the project Creative Society is being implemented on the platform of ALLATRA International Public Movement. Everybody can join to this one. We've already mentioned earlier about the 8th Foundation of Creative Society. By seeing once that every person would agree and say, yes, this is the society that I would like to live in. And what can I do for that? And every person can do a lot by already starting to spread the information about this society. Let's have a look about the comments from the Igor Mikhailovich and Nilo on the first foundation, and let's continue our broadcast afterwards.
Let's explain what the Creative Society is, just by going through these foundations.
Let's do it. The first foundation, Igor Mikhailovich, is human life. Human life is the highest value. Life of any human has to be protected as one's own. The goal of society is to ensure and guarantee the value of each human's life. There is not and never can there be anything else more valuable than a human's life. If one human is valuable, then all people are valuable.
Isn't that right? And now let's have a look at the very first foundation, human life. There's nothing greater than that. And now let's analyze why in our consumers' format today, everything's exactly the opposite. Now look, the interests of society prevail over the interests of a human. The interests of the state prevail over the interests of a human being. Excuse me, my friends. I just don't understand. Yes, I understand and I know everything, but on the other hand, I don't understand. How a society can exist without a human? How a state can exist without a human? In fact, so what is the most valuable that can be here, on this earth?
A human being and his life, of course.
Human life is the most valuable. This is what we need to protect. There is nothing more valuable and cannot be, isn't that so? It is, but here, there are also guarantees of human life, right? As well as providing for a person when we as a whole society take care of human life. Everything follows from here, medicine, education, and all social security, for example. A lot of benefits with a focus on a human being. And how is the creative society different from, let's say, a consumer society? The consumer society is oriented at lies, deceit, manipulation, and hidden slavery. And everyone is in slavery, even those who think that they rule the world. They're in slavery to the system itself. They're not free. Whereas here there is freedom.
Dear friends, by summing up our episode, we can see that sudden cataclysms all over the world are just a vivid example of the fact that for raging nature forces doesn't really care about our ranks, social position, social status, social connection, or a number of accumulated so-called material goods, and absolutely every inhabitant of the planet can be captured in a trap of the forces of nature. In such cases, people instantly lose everything that they had before or once thought that they were have as valuable, and recall that what's truly valuable is life. Our own lives, the lives of the loved ones, and of those who are in danger. But unfortunately, when a society is dominated by the consumer format of thinking, in such cases, a person is always left one-on-one with his own grief. However, there is a way out, our dear viewers, and it's found already, and it's in the fact that in the creative format of relationship and the society as a whole, every single person will be confident in his future, and in general, and it will allow us to minimize the consequences of ongoing climatic disasters. Let's watch together the excerpt from the other program with participation of Igor Mikhailovich Danilov, the climate change, the beginning of a big disaster.
We encounter. And do you know what else is the saddest thing? I would say that the biggest catastrophe is happening in people's heads around the world. Because many pondered and caught themselves thinking that this humanity should be destroyed. And inside, many agree with this. And that's the paradox. And many even assert that humanity must be destroyed. But no one wonders where they've got such confidence and such a thought in their heads from.
Yes.
And no one ponders what the consequences of such thoughts are. And it's true, very many people think about it. I'd even say this thought came basically to everyone, and they agreed with it.
This also symbolizes, yes, that it is coming.
This is one of the indicators and main indicators of the end of the world. Before, when the scary story appeared, some people were scared, some people had something else, but everyone had confidence in the future. Today, people have almost no confidence in tomorrow, but there is an understanding that this civilization must end, and end badly. These are mindsets in the head. It's a program that is starting to work. It works both in the outside world and in the inner world of almost every person. And it's hard to overcome all this. Will people be able to join hands under such circumstances and all together start taking care of each other, not themselves, but of each other? Well, this is a necessary factor.
If they live guided by consciousness, then it is impossible.
That is the answer.
It's paradoxical that sometimes they cannot take care of themselves because the news in the headlines
And
prizes...
it won't be possible to take care of yourself if we do not take care of each other.